just because it was there and I thought that it'd be an interesting thing to do.
The mantra of a true explorer. Chris Brimhall has never let the unknown stand in the way of discovery. As an ATV voyager, a pioneer into lands mapped and categorized but long ago forgotten, Chris has taken off-road trips of varying intensity. He's trudged over mountaintops on simple day trips, as well as rides over hundreds of miles lasting the better part of a week. Where some might ask why, Chris asks instead, why not? Today's trek is no different.
Well, we left Promontory Point, run across the old Transcontinental Railroad, 100 and some odd miles to Lucerne, which was the last stop along the railroad before you turn and drop south and go into Wendover, Utah. There's a lot of interesting scenery. I mean, you can see the north end of the lake, and it's quite interesting up there, actually. The landscape's about as barren as anywhere in the world. You'd have to think, what in the world were these people thinking about putting a railroad up here?
The Transcontinental Railroad was the first transportation link between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Opened to rail traffic on May 10th of 1869 by the famous Golden Spike at Promontory Point near Ogden, Utah, the railbed headed west toward California on the north side of the Great Salt Lake. Though most of the original line is still in full use today, having been updated with modern technology, much of the old railroad has been bypassed or abandoned over the last 4 decades. What's left behind is a byway that cuts through the sterile desert landscape of northern Utah. Trains may not be able to travel here anymore, but ATVs and Jeeps are welcome to explore a land that has changed very little in the last 150 years.
It just goes to show you just how big this state and how immense the countryside is and just how desolate it can be. The desert has its own beauty, but the beauty's in its harshness, its, unforgivingness. And you'd have to wonder what people really thought of the country when they got out there.
Seeing this land for the first time himself, Chris is able to do more than just wonder. The immense flatness of the area goes on seemingly without end, punctuated only by the chapped earth and the occasional sunflower. However, even out here, there are mysteries waiting to be uncovered, and the voices of the forgotten whispering from beneath the soil.
Finding the 2 old cemeteries out along the way were quite interesting, and seeing how they built the railroad. It was amazing. They did it with picks and shovels and a couple of horses. There's a lot of the old trestles and stuff that are still there, and I found it was ingenious the way they managed to get it done in the 1860s.
A hint of dust filters through the air as the moon rises in spectacular autumn glory. Like the steam engines of old, Chris lumbers into Wendover before the flickering of the first faint stars. Now that the terminus of his long desert journey, one would expect our weary traveler to think about a long rest and some well-earned comforts. But for Chris Brimhall, the adventure never has a final stop. Even now, his plans turn to the next trip. His unquenchable thirst to explore pushes him forward. Some would ask, why continue? Chris's response is simple. Why not?
Eventually, I'd like to connect this with going from Wendover on down to Fillmore, and Fillmore down to Salina, and on down through southern Utah, and a multiple of different trips. Just don't know. You'll just have to stay tuned and find out.
From the old bed of the Transcontinental Railroad, I'm Bob Welty.